Hello, everyone. Welcome back to What's Your Story? I'm Gabby, the host of this podcast. If you're new here, What's Your Story is a safe space where we dive deep into the personal stories and reflect on the decisions we have made that have guided us to be exactly where we are today. Each episode features interviews with everyday people who share the pivotal moments and challenges that have defined their lives. From childhood experiences to life altering decisions, we explore the unique journeys that shape the human experience, reminding us that we are all more alike than we think we are. All right, welcome back to What's Your Story? My name is Gabby. I'm the host of this podcast, and joining me today is Eliza. I'm so excited to have her on this episode and to have her share her story with you guys. So, Eliza is this great down to earth girl, and I'm so excited for her to share more about her journey, her life experiences, and for you guys to get to know her better. Eliza spent a lot of time traveling last year, exploring new cities, pursuing different creative projects. She's in social media marketing. And yeah, we're just going to dive deep into Eliza's journey and get to know all about her.
I'm excited.
You spent a lot of time traveling last year and exploring new cities. What do you think inspired that pursuit?
At the end of 2023, I guess. Yeah, it was end of 2023. I was kind of at a crossroads. I was thinking about moving to the West Coast, but the person I was originally going to move with ended up kind of falling through, and I was supposed to go to San Diego, and I'd never been to San Diego before. So I was really daunted by just kind of like picking up and moving to a new city that I'd never really been to. And I think because of that, I had people like I have such an amazing community. They all were kind of like rallying for their cities for me to go move to New York or move to Paris or stay in Atlanta. And I just like really felt like I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I'm in a remote job. So I figured, I've always wanted to travel and I really wanted to like have the opportunity to try some of these cities out for a period of time, or just like, fully send it eventually. So I think it ended up being a really great opportunity to just spend a bit of time in these different places. And it wasn't like for too long, you know what I mean? It wasn't enough time to really, it was enough time to basically get a taste of each city, which I really felt like built a holistic view of like what I want from wherever I end up moving permanently. So I think that was probably my main motivating factor.
Yeah. Was your goal to like ever try to find a place to see if there's a place that calls to you or resonates with you or just makes you feel like you're more at home? Did you ever?
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta definitely always felt like home. And I think that I kind of had a feeling that like I could just see myself there forever. And it was making me nervous because I just had never really lived anywhere else other than North Carolina when I was in college. And the world is just so big. And as much as like you can travel and experience it in these short moments, it's so valuable just to, be able to experience different places and, get to like be more involved in the community without that context of like, oh my gosh, I'm only here for vacation, which puts kind of a lot of pressure. And even I felt pressure to like experience so much of places, but I really felt like it was still enough time to, just get a general vibe of what the culture is like and what the people are like. And I think there's so many factors that play into like living in a place, like even outside of like the community you find, the transportation, the weather, the activities, the cost of living, like all of those are hard to like gather in like a week-long trip. So I really was grateful that I was able to spend a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's such a unique experience. And it sounds like you have a job that gives you the time and flexibility to do that. Like you can pick up and go and, you can work from home or work from a coffee shop. Like how cool is that, When did you, start working remotely and decide that you wanted to prioritize having a good work-life balance?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it just kind of happened. It's kind of crazy. So when I graduated from college, I was like, get me in that corporate world, baby. Get me to my 9 to 5. Like, I just was so excited, I think, to start my career. And I really felt like my career was like going to be what gave me meaning and like was going to be my purpose in life. And I was really energized about like going into my field of marketing and getting to be creative and collaborating with
Mhm.
teams. And I finally got a job in January of 2020. And like, I was so
Yay!
excited. And then we went straight into a pandemic, and like the
Yeah.
workforce just
Wow,
completely
January
changed.
2020. That
Yeah,
was right before the
right. Like
pandemic.
literally, I had 2 months going into the office, and
Whoa,
then
everything shifted.
immediately shifted. And so it was like definitely, I never think I mean, I don't think anybody really thought remote working was like a thing at
Yeah.
that point in time. Like it just wasn't ever something that I even considered.
Right.
And so because marketing, I think like is a job you can absolutely do from wherever, whenever, as long as you like are really dedicating yourself to, a solid work schedule, and you have
Mhm.
that kind of discipline, like you can really work from wherever.
Yeah.
So I just kind of fell into it. I mean, my company isn't even based in Atlanta where I'm at.
Mhm.
So because of that, I was always working at home. And honestly, I felt like it was a harder environment because
Yeah.
I was just like in my room and I was so isolated, and
Mhm.
it didn't feel like I was really able to like, bring myself to inspiring like spaces that made me feel
Mm.
energized to do work. And really like
Mhm.
that was mostly going to coffee shops and co-working
Yeah.
spaces, which like you can find anywhere in the world now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like remote work really opened up a whole new world for me, because traveling was honestly like I, as much as I love storytelling, I think my two passions in life are like storytelling and
Mhm.
experiencing new things, and
Yeah.
how I can like intertwine those two things is also really important to me. So yeah, the whole traveling aspect was something that I never thought would be a part of my lifestyle in the way it is now,
Yeah.
but I'm so grateful that it is.
Yeah, it sounds like it really like aligned perfectly with your journey and opened doors and opportunities for you to meet new people, and it also makes you kind of be like more vulnerable than what you normally would be, whereas
Mm-hmm.
you're putting yourself in a situation where you're open to new experiences and you may or may not meet like the right people, and yeah, you're being really like vulnerable and authentic, so that's so cool.
Yeah, I definitely like, I feel like I had such a strong community in Atlanta. And
Mhm.
so to go to new places and not really know anybody was definitely really intimidating. I mean, to be fair, I was also visiting a lot of friends as well, which I was grateful
Mhm.
for. But the places that I did go to where I felt like I didn't have a community, it was so pushing myself outside of my
Yeah.
comfort zone in a way that I just like have never really even experienced. And,
Yeah.
it wasn't like all great. Like I
Mhm.
definitely had some very lonely moments. Like I was just in the Philippines for a month,
Mhm.
and that was like culture shock on top of
Mhm.
like, not really knowing anybody and not really sure the best way to find community, especially trying
Yeah.
to find authentic connections with
Yeah.
people, because you just have so many diverse people that you just are like, it's really intimidating. But
Yeah.
if anything, it made me feel a lot more confident in myself, and I had to push myself to try, activities like surfing that were really
Mhm.
challenging me physically and mentally. And I think in the end, like honestly taught me so much about what I am capable of as a person.
Mhm.
And so even outside of the community aspect, that has been some of the most rewarding opportunities I've had.
Nice. That's amazing. Honestly, I'm like so inspired just
No.
hearing you say this, because I, in my own personal life, want to move into in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
So that's awesome to hear. And the power of community, like that is so like essential. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
when you work remote, that is one of the hardest parts, or one of the hardest things to navigate when you're working remotely. Like
Mm.
people feel lonely and you feel like isolated. So you putting yourself out there and putting yourself in like these spaces, and you're attracting people that are like-minded, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that that takes definitely a big level of like vulnerability and like authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
But let me ask you, like, when you think about like community, like, where do you feel like you have that? Where do you feel like you've established like a good sense of community?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question because, I have so much family in Massachusetts
Mm-hmm.
and Atlanta. So those
Mm.
places just inherently always feel like coming back
Mm.
home. But
Yeah.
my friends mean like so much to me. I'm so
Yeah.
grateful for the people that, I don't know, just have always rallied around me. And they're all over the world, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's another thing that like is like, I think when you are in one place, it's kind of hard to maintain some of like long distance friendships as you get older. It's just hard.
It's
You know what I
so hard.
mean?
It's a full-time job.
Everybody's doing their
Yeah.
own thing. And like, I think especially because I was kind of on the move for a good bit, like it felt like I need to be really intentional to reach out to my
Mhm.
community and my people. Like, one of my closest friends, Allison, like we send each
Mhm.
other Wednesday updates. We call it our
Yeah.
Waffle
I was gonna
Wednesday.
I was gonna bring that up.
And
I'm like,
yeah,
please tell us about Waffle Wednesday
yes.
because I'm so intrigued.
Yes, so I have my Wednesday wenches, my waffle Wednesday wenches, and it was just coming from a place of like, I think every time we caught up, we're like, I don't even know,
Yeah.
like, what do you do again? Who are your
Right.
friends? Like, you know
Right.
what I mean? It was just, I didn't feel as connected to like, they all have their own
Because
communities.
life moves so
Yeah,
fast, you know?
everybody's doing their own thing in their own lives,
Yeah.
and like, I think that's one of the like really hard parts about as you get older. And so
Mhm.
I just, I think by starting Waffle Wednesday, we now just send Wednesday updates of like,
Mhm.
I went to the orthodontist or I went to the dentist the other day, and like I got my oil change, like the
Yeah.
little things in life that like
Mhm.
are actually like wins nowadays, as
Mhm.
well as the big moments as well.
Right.
You know, it's really nice to be able to check in through that way. So I feel like I've really tried, I have a community all over the world that I just really
Mhm.
try to be intentional with when I reach out
Yes.
to them and make time to see them when I can, because I think like that's another thing where even if I were to go to a completely new city, like I even if I didn't make friends for whatever
Mhm.
reason, like I really believe in the people that I
Mhm.
have all over the world who are just like so kind and open. And the only way you're gonna meet those people is by getting out there. So it's so
Exactly.
important. Yeah.
Exactly. No, and like as we get older, like what you said, like it's so hard, like life moves so fast and like we get so caught up in like our schedules, our routines, our job and like if you're not putting in that effort to stay consistent and like catch
Mm-hmm.
up with like your girlfriends, like you could miss so much. And yeah, even if it's as silly as like an update as like I went to the gynecologist today, like it's
Yeah.
like fostering that like, you know, connection and I think that when you have like it sounds like you have like a lot of like friends that are long distance and you know you have pockets of friends in different places like
Mm-hmm.
you have to really be more intentional with
Yeah.
how you are thinking about other people and like making time and putting in that effort to
Mm-hmm.
reconnect because again life moves so fast and
Yeah.
you know relationships are work and it's a
Mm-hmm.
two-way street like I think that in order for relationships to flourish like everyone has to it's a give and take you know
Mm-hmm.
like you have to put in that effort and dedicate some of your time so that friendship can continue to like flourish and grow.
Yeah, and I think that's something also as I've gotten older, like I think inherently when you're younger, you're like, oh my gosh, I want new friends, new friends, new friends,
Yeah.
new people. And I think that's honestly probably a part of the reason why in the Philippines I didn't make as many friends. I definitely made some really strong friendships. But
Yeah.
I think when I was there, I just kind of realized like nobody's really chalking up to the girls that I got. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, and I don't like, you know, I would rather dedicate my energy to like reaching out to them in my spare
Mhm.
time, and I love meeting new people and having
Mhm.
those new connections. But I think it's also as you get older, really knowing like
Mhm.
if the energy is off, it's
Yeah.
not even a fault on the other person. Maybe we just don't need, like, you
Yeah.
don't have to be friends with everybody.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's conflicting, and it makes you so much more grateful for the people that you
Mhm.
do have. Like the instances where I'm just kind of in rooms with new people who maybe are cool or like have
Mhm.
something that I feel like they could offer
Mhm.
me. Like I just want like that that feeling of I'm
Familiar.
myself. You know, I don't feel like I have to mask. I don't feel like I have
Mhm.
to be the cool girl. I can just like be my like weird authentic self. And like I feel like the people when I and that's another big thing, like just being 100% yourself.
Yeah.
And if somebody isn't vibing with it, if they're not rocking with it, you don't need to rock with them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Yeah.
big component of that is just knowing like who you are and just who isn't worth being in your life, you know?
I agree. I'm a big believer that like you attract what you are. Like I just think
Mm,
that energy is everything and like I tend to gravitate towards like-minded people, but I intentionally try my best. We're you know, we're not perfect. Some days are harder than others when
yeah.
you're in a bad, you know, when you're down bad. But anyways,
Ugh.
like I like to put out a certain energy so that I can receive that back
Mm-hmm.
but also that's just who I am at my core. Like I genuinely like love to connect with
Mm.
new people and like meet new people. As we get older, it's really hard to like make new friends. We go through different phases in our lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where like the friends that we've had from undergrad or like college or different like phases in our lives, they've kind of have evolved with us. Those
Mm-hmm.
friendships are kind of like, comfortable and familiar to us. Whereas if we were to meet someone now in this new stage that we're at, everything kind of has to align perfectly. Like,
Mm.
to be completely honest, like I'm kind of more selective and picky with like
Mm.
the people that I bring into my life now, because what do you bring
Mm.
into my life? Because I'm at a place in my life where I feel like I've worked so hard to know myself and like
Mm.
have put in the work to like show up authentically in spaces. And I feel like I'm just more selective with like the people I have
Mm-hmm.
like in my life right now.
I think especially with like those close relationships that I'm like dedicating time to, like I always want to like have open energy like
Mm-hmm.
in every space, and it's something I'm really actively honestly working on.
Yeah.
And I think it honestly manifests more like in my dating life. Like I feel like that's when I
Mm.
feel like I have to really put myself, like I have to really get out of my comfort zone and like have
Yeah.
the most open energy,
Yeah.
especially like meeting people in person. Like this was something that Alice and I were talking about, because I feel like especially effects of the pandemic, like we're all just so used to like our bubble, our
Mm-hmm.
people, our lane, and staying
Yeah.
in our lane. We move through the world
Yeah.
like just so focused on where we're going next and what is in our space,
Yeah.
that we don't, I feel like as a society, I guess, like less so have this like just open energy
Mm-hmm.
that welcomes new people in, which like I feel like when you're actively trying to date and meet people
Mm-hmm.
organically, like that can be really hard.
Yep.
So I feel like something I've been really trying to do is just like I am now trying to talk to strangers more.
Oh my
You know what I mean?
God.
I'm trying to like just like chit chat here and there,
To
and
meet
like
someone in the wilds is
oh,
like,
what a
what a
dream.
dream that would
I
be.
know. I asked my friend, I was like, how did you meet your husband? And she was like, a dance floor makeout. And I was like, the old fashioned
I
way,
mean, that's
girl.
what you have to do.
But then it's funny because now I'm like, if a guy tries to make out with me in a club, I'm like, ah,
Right. Jump scare.
yeah, I'm like, get away from me. Like, you know what I mean? But we're so like, I don't know. So I have to really actively try on
Yeah.
that front.
Yeah.
But at least in terms of building community, like, yeah, I've got my girls, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have good intuition of like if somebody wants to be friends with me, I have good intuition if your energy is going to be like
Mm-hmm.
like how compatible it's going to be. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean we're going to hang out every day, but if
Yeah.
we decide to like, you know, go to Pilates together, go skating,
Yeah.
like we can like grow our friendship that way, and that's also really lovely.
Right. Like that goes back to like what I was saying. Like I feel like I'm at a point in my life where I'm like very selective, because like I want to like have people around me that have like-minded interests and are going to just help me grow all together as a
Mm-hmm.
person. We're gonna benefit from this in some way, both of us mutually.
Right.
Like I'm just the kind of person that like, if you're in my life, like I hope that I am providing something good and positive to your life, and like vice versa,
Mm-hmm.
like. But back to what you said about dating
Mm.
nowadays, I feel like that's
Ah,
a
yes.
hot topic, because I
Mm.
mean I think we can all
Ugh.
relate. We're in the trenches out here.
Ugh.
I just I can't. Like
Mm.
I'm not that I give up, but I just feel like after the pandemic and like with online dating, like people are so comfortable with just going on their phone and like having some sort of like relationship with someone, and it's like a temporary like high, like a temporary like fix for the moment, but like I feel like it's been really hard for people to like authentically connect in person, because everyone
Mm.
is so comfortable with like just hiding behind a screen, putting on a mask and being this persona feeding you everything that you want to hear. But then when it comes to like being in person and like having like a real authentic like connection, like everyone is just scared, like, oh no, jump
Mm.
scare, running out the door as soon as anyone like wants
Mm.
a more serious level of like commitment. Like I don't know, I think that like the isolation that we all experienced during COVID, and like I don't know, I think that everyone deeply wants connection but is so afraid of commitment.
Mm. Yeah, I can definitely see that. And I don't know, I feel like I feel like dating was really hard for me, just like being on the move last
Yeah.
year, because I have such like a narrow window of opportunity
Mm.
of emotional availability. And if I
Mm.
don't meet you in those, like in that 2 weeks while I'm in your city, then sorry, like it's not really gonna, I don't know. I'm gonna close myself off, you
Yeah.
know? So it's definitely something I feel like I'm actively like working on, but I'm excited to start a new chapter in a new city. And I
Mhm.
think inherently being in a new city always revives that
Yeah.
excitement. But being in the suburbs of Georgia right now, it's not as many people who are as like-minded as I would
Mhm.
like. And I think just knowing that makes it a little less attractive to be on the apps. But then also it's funny because then I go on the apps and I'm like, wait, there's some cool people here. You know what I mean? Like I sometimes feel like we
Hmm.
close ourselves off after a few bad experiences. And I have definitely experienced that in my dating life. Like
Hmm.
sometimes I'm like, girl, you went on 2 dates in a whole year and you're complaining about being single. Like, what are those odds? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I think more so in general, I just want to like I was saying, continuously have open energy.
Mhm.
And like if somebody comes into my life, great. But I'm also so excited about my own personal, like the things that I want to pursue in my life,
Mhm.
the life that I want to build. And if somebody were to come in and fit into that in a good way, then that is super exciting and great. But
Yeah.
I feel really excited either way, whether my life is like a life of solitude or a life with
Mm.
partnership. I think they both seem like equally fulfilling in
Mm.
however way I can build that.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful I'm at that point, because I feel like I had a while where I just made a lot of decisions based around how likely it would lead to a partner. And it was never fruitful. So,
Mm.
you know what I mean? And that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just my experience, but sometimes I do think that that length of time of wanting
Mhm.
that so badly and then it never being fruitful, like was a good kick in the ass to be like, the only person that's going to be there for myself is me. And
Mhm.
whatever dream or opportunity I want to have, like, I need to go get that. And
Mm.
I can't be distracted by this like goal that like may or may not happen. And like
Mhm.
also, I know at the end of the day, it cannot be what gives me fulfillment in life. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because even if I have an amazing partner, if they're my purpose, I just like it could still not work out or things could still go wrong. But I
Mhm.
can be sure in what I love to do, the people that I choose to dedicate
Mhm.
my time to, and the hobbies and activities that give me fulfillment and purpose. And
Yeah.
I'm just really looking forward to leaning into that for a while.
I love
So,
that. I love everything you shared because the relationship that we have with ourselves is the most important relationship we'll
mm-hmm.
ever have, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that, like, when you really intentionally spend time with yourself, we were talking about this earlier, like, when you really get to know yourself,
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's truly when you are ready to like attract like things that like vibrate at that same like energy
Mm,
field. And I think that that also takes a, you know, a level of like discipline and like
mm-hmm.
consistency. It's not easy to, you know, like do the work, as they
Mm-hmm.
say. And what I mean by that is like truly like sitting with yourself and facing uncomfortable truths and some deep inner child's wounds that we all have and traumas,
Yeah,
and
girl.
deciding like, you know, this hasn't been working for me
Mm-hmm.
and I'm ready to, you know, sit with this and do whatever I need to do so that I can feel happier, I can feel better. And sometimes that is taking yourself out of a certain space, moving to a new city, getting a new job. Like I feel like anytime that there's like a big new transition in your life,
Mm-hmm.
don't you always feel like a rush of like good energy and like things kind of just start like lining up and working out for you? I think it comes with like a change in our
Mm-hmm.
mindset, like a shift, you know?
Yeah, I definitely think that sometimes change is scary for me. Like
Oh,
sometimes I really
terrifying.
am like, girl, what are we doing right now?
No,
Like, be for real.
absolutely.
We're so comfortable in our bed right now. Why are we getting out? You know? But
Right.
I honestly think that like feeling like, and whether, if, of course, if it's exciting, that's great. But like, I
Mm-hmm.
think when it's scary, it's like when you are scared or like when you feel that fear, that means like something's about to happen to you. And like, you kind of got to like lock
Mm,
in and like be prepared for whatever it ends up being.
yes.
And like, that was a big thing that honestly, I don't know, like it kind of goes back to what I was talking about in the Philippines, because I was terrified like going to the Philippines was like this idealistic, like I'm going to be solo traveling and I'm in the
Yeah.
motherland. I'm in
Yeah,
a
it
tropical place.
sounds
Like
so
it
great
sounds so
until you get
amazing.
there.
And I honestly, like, I felt so selfish because I wasn't looking forward to it at all. Like
Oh.
going into it, I was so scared. I was like, I don't know what's about to happen to me. I haven't made
Mm-hmm.
any plans. And I also was going there because I wanted to learn how to surf. And I just
Mm.
felt like the last time I tried surfing, it was so hard. It was so
Mm.
like, honestly, like, was not successful for the 3 lessons that I did. And yeah, I was just really terrified to even do it. And I encountered somebody who kind of was like, encouraged, like, who was like, I'm here to surf. And I was like, I'm here to surf too. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to do it. And it was such an amazing lesson of like I have never been so scared to do something
Mm-hmm.
and then just done it anyways.
Yeah.
And like I think that surfing has it's just such a beautiful metaphor because it's the kind of sport where it's so much failure, it's
Mm.
so physically hard, it's so mentally hard. Like
Mm.
the preparation of knowing you're probably just going to like get your ass beat for 2 hours
Yeah.
straight and like then go do it the next day again.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know, like I really like it really showed me like that it's such a metaphor for like
Mm-hmm.
the waves crashing over you, the
Yeah.
failure of trying to do something and getting back up and then going back out
Yeah.
there. And like that was such a huge learning opportunity. And if I
Mm-hmm.
had just let the fear that I had at the beginning of the trip keep me
Love
from
you.
just
Yeah.
putting myself out there, and now like it isn't to say that I, want to be like a pro surfer now and
Yeah.
like upgrade. Like I think like I would love to continue to surf, but if anything, it's just really showed me that like when you have fears and things are about to
Mm-hmm.
change and you're like really freaked out, like you gotta like in your deep in yourself understand
Mm-hmm.
like why do you not want to do this? Do you not want to do this
Right.
because you're scared of failing?
Right.
But if you succeed, is your life going to get exponentially better and
Mm-hmm.
cooler and more exciting and fun?
And you know
Like
what's even scarier? Not doing anything at all.
exactly.
Remaining exactly where
Mm-hmm.
you are and just living with the, oh, what if I would have done that? Oh, what if I would have not?
Yeah, the
Like,
never knowing of like if I had taken that leap, would it have been what I wanted it to be? Like
mm-hmm.
I don't think that that's something I'm confident like in myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think that there's any opportunity I can live with myself. Like the
Mm-hmm.
passions and dreams that I have like accepted that I have. Like that's the other thing. You have to like I think because I identify as a creative, like a big lesson that also another lesson that I'm putting forth is like you have to
Mm-hmm.
give your creative self a chance. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have these dreams and I don't even want to like verbalize them or acknowledge them
Mm-hmm.
because I'm just like so scared that that's a stupid idea and nobody's going
Yeah.
to think it's good and what's the point of even trying. But like those are like that's what I really want to be doing. That's
Yeah.
what's going to be like make my life something that has purpose,
Mm-hmm.
at least trying them.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Putting yourself in that position to, try. I feel like there's so much power behind that. Like how much people like have all these dreams and goals to like want to move abroad or like want to try something new, want to try a new hobby, want to leave their job and try something else. And like we remain stuck because we're
mm,
so afraid of trying something new because of course we don't know what that change will look like. There's no crystal ball that's going to show
yeah,
you what the future holds.
right.
But taking that leap of faith, I feel like there's so much power behind that. So kudos to you for doing
Yeah.
that time and time after.
Yeah, my goal or one of my mottos was feel the fear and do it anyways.
Oh,
That
I
was
love
like what I feel
that.
like I really try to tell myself all the time. And when I feel fear, I really want to push myself to do whatever it is anyways, because like whatever I'm doing is probably what I should be doing anyways,
Yeah.
or what is going to get me closer to my goals. Even if like I think that's another thing as well, like as much as we're talking about putting yourself out there and doing all of these
Mm-hmm.
things, like of course coming from like a super privileged position of being able to try to do those
Mm-hmm.
things, and like I'm super grateful to be in those positions, but there's also like some goals that I have that I'm like, damn, I gotta work to do that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's some things that I think situationally I'm really privileged to have been able to, but then there's things that I'm like, I really got to work on that. I have to work towards that.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes those steps along the way like feel like really tiny baby steps
Yeah.
or not big enough, and like you just have to start somewhere as
Yep.
well. That's kind of another
Starting
big
is the hardest part.
starting is the hardest part. But
Yeah.
anybody who's ever been good at anything had a period of
Yep.
being bad at it,
Being a
and you just
beginner.
have to accept that like you got to be in that part of whatever you're trying, of just
Mm-hmm.
messing up and it not being perfect, and then eventually it'll become second nature. I mean, there's so many things in my life that I'm like, wow, I used to be really bad at this, and now I'm like, maybe not that bad. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm like okay now, and like that's
Yeah.
really cool because it took me a while to get there, but here we are.
Yeah. That's amazing. Okay, so we're gonna play a little game. Let's see. So Eliza was a stranger to me before the past 8 hours that we spent together.
basically, we
So
officially met in person today.
right.
Yeah.
So we're pulling out a little game because we're not really strangers anymore. So we're not really strangers. If you want to sponsor me, feel free. We need the sponsors.
Yeah, truly. I feel you, girl.
Okay, do you want a wild card?
Sure. I mean, I'll take whatever question you want to give me.
Wild card. What is one truth I've recently come to terms with? What is one truth you've recently come to terms with?
One truth that I've recently come to terms with. Ooh. This might kind of like, honestly, a big truth. I think because, again, going back to my trip to the Philippines, which is, I'm half Filipino. And so that was my first time going back to the motherland and experiencing Filipino culture in the way that I was able to. And I was really trying to be intentional about it. And it was really interesting just to see the way Filipino people, like just the overall culture. And there's such a strong culture around family. And I feel like in the US, we have a very like individualistic society of like,
oh my God,
you should like so go off and like do your own thing and live your own life. And like family is important, but like being your own personal success is really important. And I think as I'm an incredibly independent person, and I've always really believed that. But to be in a place where everybody is supporting everyone and like, I don't know, like it's really normal, honestly, for families to live together also, just like for their whole lives. Like that's just like a normal thing. And then I moved back home in with my parents to save money before I make my next move. And I don't know, it was just a really like, I feel so much more connected to my family. And like, I don't know, maybe that's a weird thing to like, I'm realizing my family is important to me. They've always been very important to me. But
you look at it from a different lens, a different perspective now.
Yeah. And even with my mom, I mean, my mom immigrated to the US when she was in her like 20s or 30s. And I don't think I ever really thought about what that meant. You know what I mean? And I feel a lot of things towards having grown up in the US and being a person of color who like has family who has immigrated here. And I actually have this tattoo. It says saudade, which is a Portuguese term that isn't really translatable into English. The closest word is like longing or nostalgia, but it's like nostalgia for like a life you've never really like lived or experienced. So it's very much for like people who like have left their homeland. And it's like, I have this like, I feel nostalgia for growing up in the Philippines, even though I never have and I never will. And like, it's just kind of a weird realization that like, I would love to be closer to that. And like, I think we grew up thinking the US is like the best place in the world to live. And it's kind of coming.
It's a scam.
It's kind of been a scam. And like, we're getting older and realizing like, I don't know, I think if you told younger me that like, hey, maybe you want to move to the Philippines one day, I'd be like, why do you want to go there? What opportunities are you going to have there? And it's because we have this like, we've kind of been taught that the US is the only place that like you should live, and that everybody else in the world wants to live here. But it's like all of these places have kept moving and have kept progressing, and like of course there's like 100% cultural differences and their own, you know, issues that they're dealing with in their own countries, but like kind of started to expand my thinking about what home can look like and where it can be.
I feel the same exact way. Anytime that I've traveled outside of the country, I come back and I'm like, wow, we're so selfish. Like, honestly, those cultural values, just, I feel like I resonate so much with that as well. My parents are both like immigrants to this country as well. So I've always have felt like weird when it comes to like identifying as like an American or identifying as like Latina, Hispanic, because I grew up in a very Hispanic household. So I resonate more with like my Hispanic culture, which is very much like we stick together, we do this together, whereas America is like every man for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I always feel that anytime I travel and I come back, I always feel like a disconnect almost.
Mm.
Like I I don't know, I just there's something just so beautiful about like that community and like those cultural values that you see in different countries.
Yeah, definitely. And it's even like kind of going back to what we were saying earlier about people like kind of feeling like they're, I don't know, lacking community and
Mm-hmm.
purpose and connection. And then you go to places like where I was. It was so interesting. One of the guys who I met there,
Mm.
like he was like a shop owner, and he was like, "Oh, how'd you find this?" And I was like, "Oh, like I found you through like ChatGPT when they made like
Oh
an itinerary." And
wow.
he was like, "What's ChatGPT?" And I was like,
Wow, that's such a
"Wow,
culture shock moment.
yeah, it
Like,
really is because it's like you're like living your life and like just so focused on your community
yeah.
here that you don't even know what's going on out there, which maybe it's just ignorance is bliss, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean, to a degree.
Honestly, I wouldn't mind to be in that little bubble and
I
like
know
not
it's
know what's going on.
right. A part of it does have
Sign me
is
up.
very attractive, but I mean, I do try to be very cognizant as well. I feel like I had a lot of conversations about like neocolonialism and a lot of people who like do just kind of
Mm-hmm.
come into places and see it as an opportunity
Yeah.
rather than like ever feeling a connection to where they're going. And that's something that I really am very passionate about now. Now that I'm thinking about moving, I'm like, okay, let me make sure I am educated enough about this place and like what
Yeah.
actually has gone down there and is continuing to go down there. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? I try to be conscious of that, but I'm, I think a lot of people in the U.S. are kind of like shifting their mindset, and
Yep.
I think it'll be really interesting the way that'll impact the rest of the world, especially places that are getting an influx of people who just like want to live outside of the
Mm-hmm.
U.S. You know what I mean? The
Mm-hmm.
world's changing, so
Yep. I'm ready to go explore what's on the other side
yeah,
because
girl.
this just isn't it for me
Yeah,
anymore.
I hear
Sorry,
you.
mom. Gotta go. Spain's calling.
Yep. Okay. Mm-hmm.
What did the people who raised you teach you about love? What lessons do you want to keep? What do you want to challenge?
Oh my gosh, that's like a big
Yeah,
question.
that's a really heavy loaded
I know.
question.
Well, it is interesting because so my mom immigrated from the Philippines. My
Mm-hmm.
dad grew up in the US.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally there's like a big cultural like difference there, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, in terms of priorities. I think my mom coming from such a community-based place in the Philippines, very much like I don't know, she taught me so much about love and so much about like
Mm,
care. Like she just is the definition of the kind of person who would like take her shirt off her back and
I love that.
like she genuinely has all. Sometimes I'm like, I like that shirt, can I have it? And she's like, here. So you know what
Here
I
you
mean?
go.
Like she's
What's
like,
mine is yours.
yeah, truly like that. I don't know, that kind of unconditional love is so beautiful. And
Yeah.
I think my dad has taught me, oh my gosh, I just feel like he has taught me so much in life. Like
Mm-hmm.
he is like my like mentor, and I think like I really feel like the like success that I have is so much from him rooting me on, constantly
Mm,
rooting me on. And like I feel like it's easy to like, I feel like I have a lot of friends or people have said they have their parents have a lot of expectations for them, and I think my parents have just really trusted me, and I'm really grateful for
mm,
that they like have always believed in me and like never really put too much pressure on me to go a certain way in life.
mm-hmm.
um and that's taught me a lot about, if I were to have kids, like I would love to raise them half as good as the way I feel like my parents really raised me. And I'm
Mm,
so grateful for, and they sacrificed so much. Like, oh my gosh, like my mom moved to a different country so that our kids could have a better life.
yeah.
And like my dad grew up in not the best area in Boston. And like also, I just feel like a lot of their sacrifices has really showed me about unconditional love. Um, and yeah, I owe it all to them.
I love that. And I mean, it all starts in childhood. Like I feel like the experiences and like the framework that is laid out for you, we internalize that and that kind of sets the stage as to who we're going to be when we
Mm,
grow up, you know? Like we idolize our parents when we're little.
right.
That's the first experience we have
Mm-hmm.
of love, you know? So it, it's really heartbreaking when like people don't grow up in like households like that, but it's
Mm.
so fortunate that you grew up with like so much love and like that really has like impacted and shaped like the person you are today, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, by no means was my childhood perfect, but it like when you the older you get and you realize your parents are just this is their
Mm-hmm.
first time at life too,
Right.
and like
They're
they're
doing the
literally
best
all
they
still
can.
figuring it out. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
it's yeah, I'm super grateful for that.
Hmm. Okay, I have one more question for you, Eliza.
Okay.
The deepest one, if we haven't gone deep
Yep.
already.
I know.
We've gone pretty
I
deep.
know.
If your younger self can see you now, what do you think she would say to you?
Oh my gosh. I think she would say like, holy shit, I can't believe you're so hot.
I fucking love that. Why did I love
Like
that so much?
low key, like my little Arthur the Aardvark looking ass would be
Girl, you
so
look
gagged at me today.
good.
Not gonna lie.
I love that. Self-love,
But
baby.
also superficial things aside, um, I honestly think like my perception on life has just changed so much. I think she would be
Mhm.
like probably really bummed that I don't have a boyfriend. But I think like I would have to tell her like, girl,
Right, we'll
but
have
let
to
me
sit down and
it's
explain
like
things to you. Like
it's
it's not
not
that easy anymore. Guys don't just come up to you and make out with
yeah.
you on the dance floor. Like
Yeah, girl.
it's
And you don't and the ones who do you don't want them. You know what I mean? I feel like I would have to
right.
tell her like, girl, like I would have to sit her down. It's
Yeah.
more that. Like
Yeah.
she would try to tell me shit and I would be like, pipe down.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Simmer down.
Simmer down.
Let me tell you what's going on right
tell
now.
you what
Okay.
actually the world is like. But I think she would be so gagged that I have traveled as much as I have and I've seen the world to the degree that I have. Like that was like, oh my gosh, I used to have a dream box and I would literally write new places that I wanted to go to and I would put it in the box and I would sleep with it under my pillow and I still have it. But it just is like, because you know, that was just like something I would do as a kid. And then I think about when I'm older and I'm like, I did that.
Yeah.
Like I have a journal too that I kept ever since I was in middle school that has all the things that I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing is more satisfying than crossing off something you wrote when you were like 11 years old.
That is so I feel like I've done life wrong because like I don't have anything to keep track of like what I've done so far. That's so cool though. Like and such a good way to like connect with yourself and like remind yourself like we're here living out this dream, you know?
Yeah.
Like
and the growth is honestly crazy. Like I also wrote all like the major events. Like I literally wrote like when I had my first kiss and like when I like smoked my first cigarette. I'm like, girl, you can see us now. Just kidding.
We're such good girls.
No, I'm good girl. I don't only after a few shots of tequila.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding.
After a really long night out, it's fine.
No, I think she would be so. I think she would honestly just ask me a shit ton of questions about what I am now doing in life, and I would just give her a big old hug, and I would love to tell her like, it doesn't matter. Like whatever you're worrying about right now, it's all gonna be okay. So
I definitely think she would be so proud of who you are today. All the things you've done, the places you've seen.
Yeah.
Like just your energy, like the way that like you come off. Like you're definitely a person I would like want to be around. In fact, like when Allison has like talked about you or when like she shares stories about you, I'm like, Eliza sounds so fucking cool. Like, can you introduce me? Because I know we would vibe.
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet. No, I was like literally like, when am I gonna meet Gabby? I'm like, I come over here. I was like, I want to meet Gabby. She better be coming around.
You're so cute.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, you're awesome. And I hope anyone that's listening now was able to take at least, you know, something from this and hearing Eliza's journey. I personally feel so inspired. Like she's done so much and has confronted her fears and literally has pursued her dreams. She's crossed them off the list,
checking them out
one by one. First make out check.
Yeah, make out with the boy check. I have done that.
Love that. No, I'm doing life so wrong. I need to learn from you,
girl. No, you've got some big moves coming up. I'm excited to see what you have going on next.
Yeah. But anyways, for our viewers, for our listeners, thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I hope that Eliza's story resonates with somebody listening. And Stay tuned for the next episode. Please share this episode with a friend, someone you think would resonate and would like to hear this message. Don't forget to like, share, follow, comment, and stay tuned for the next episode. Bye.